Taking a walk.
My dad, I would say, is the closest to what I got this from, because he's a good karaoke singer, but he needs about 7 Crown Royal and waters in him to get going. So I joke and say that was where I got my singing abilities from, but who knows?
Step into the rhythm of a story. It spans campus dorm rooms, platinum records, and soul-searching adventures. On today's episode of Taking a Walk, I'm Buzz Knight, joined by Quinn 92, an artist who has turned amazing lyrics, genre-defying sounds into an anthem for a generation in motion. He's got his 7th album out called Look, I'm Alive. We'll find out about the inspiration for it and more with Quinn 92 coming up next after a few words from our sponsors.
Taking a walk.
Quinn, it is a pleasure to have you on Taking a Walk, my friend.
Thanks, man. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, Buzz.
So we asked this question to kind of open things up, since we call this little podcast Taking a Walk. Quinn 92, is there somebody you would like to take a walk with, living or dead? And who might that be?
That is such a good question. And to preface this, I was expecting us to be walking today on the sidewalk talking, so I'm glad we're not, because, Buzz, I told you off the air, I'm in New York right now. It's about 100 degrees or something, so this is much more comfortable to be speaking to you in some AC. So I have 2 answers, and they're very at the end of the spectrum here. On other sides of the spectrum, I should say. There's my daughter, who is 19 months old, who just started walking not long ago. She's very fun to walk with, but there's not much conversation, and she's wanting to run up everyone's driveway, and she's very invasive. So it's a bit of a hectic walk, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is Bill Murray, who I've been a fan of for years. I even got him tattooed on my arm here, and I don't know, I've just heard so many stories about him, and seems like a guy who's got some really good, I don't know, just a good conversation to have with. And yeah, Bill's probably, I would probably have to give him the nudge over my daughter.
It's so funny that you mentioned Bill Murray. Have you ever met him, by the way?
No, I've never met him. I'm hoping to one day stumble. I've got a book of his where it's called The Tao of Bill Murray, and it's about Bill Murray showing up to people's parties or work events, or just kind of interrupting their lives spontaneously. And he doesn't say anything. He just wants to fit in, and he's just like a fly in the wall. So I'm hoping that will happen to me someday. I'm not banking on it, but maybe that's my only chance of beating him.
Well, you never know, especially that you're in New York City. The hysterical thing about it is, I was just looking at my dopey to-do list for the day, and on the list is Bill M.
Oh, you're kidding?
Which is Bill Murray. In that, I'm putting together a special celebration episode for this place in New York City at the Carlisle Hotel that is called Bemelman's Bar. It's a legendary spot on the Upper East Side. And back in December, Bill did a famous drop-by.
I know. So I think, not to interrupt you, he filmed a Christmas special, and I think he shot it at this bar. I watched it. I think it's the same place.
It's a tremendous place. If you get a chance to pop up there, there's usually a trio performing, and I guarantee you, whether Bill's there or not, if you're in a mediocre mood and you go up there, you're going to leave there in a great mood, because it's very old school New York. But I'm trying to get Bill to do something to contribute to that upcoming episode that I'm working on. So it's pretty funny that we're channeling Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think the stars are aligning. I think Bill's going to have to hear this at some point.
You never know, as they say, right? So, Quinn, take me back to the earliest memories of music for you growing up in Michigan.
Yeah, I grew up just outside Detroit, which as most know, is very heavily influenced by the early Motown scene that was there in the 50s and 60s. And my parents just played that constantly around the house when I was growing up with house parties and, I don't know, doing the dishes. It seemed to be always in the background of my life as a kid. And I just got naturally infatuated, I think, with that music and catchy pop records, which then led me to discovering guys like Michael Jackson and even later in life, Sam Cooke, and more just, really prolific songwriters and entertainers. And I loved music from an early age because it was sort of not forced upon me, but it was a part of my environment since day one. So I can't really remember life without music, honestly. It's always just been around. But ironically, none of my family are musicians. They don't really have a musical bone in their body. My dad, I would say, is the closest to what I got this from, because he's a good karaoke singer, but he needs about 7 Crown Royal and waters in him to get going. So I joke and say that was where I got my singing abilities from, but who knows? But yeah, to answer your question, like it's just been something that I've been around for a while, and then later in life I got into writing. Like took a lot of creative writing classes in school, wrote a lot of short stories. And I loved writing also. And then one day it dawned on me, I was like, why don't I just fuse these two things I love together and try writing something? And so in high school, I wrote this little rap song that was not great, but I fell in love with the process of songwriting right then. There's something about telling my stories over a beat or drums or a guitar or something, and watching that turn into something brand new was so cool as a kid to see, like this thing that you just created from scratch. And I guess the rest is history. I got the bug, and here I am now, 15, 20 years later. So yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. And we're going to trace your evolution here right up to the 7th album, the new one, Look, I'm Alive. It's fascinating what's going on with you. You made reference to your daughter. So we're going to sort of get inside your head a little bit on the creation of the great new music for sure. But speaking of children, childhood, if you could describe your childhood in one song, what would it be?
A song of mine, or just a song in general?
Song in general. Or could be yours too.
I love that question. I'm not going to do mine. That would feel weird. I'll pick something else, something that someone else has made. I would say, geez, that is a good question. I love the song Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. And even though that song, I'm pretty sure, is about a woman and it's about a relationship, there's something about, I think, the title, and every time I hear that song, it brings me back to the early days of even though I heard that like in middle school, there's something about Sundays and easy living and slow paced life that was living in Michigan. I think that song represents that in a weird way for me. And yeah, my life was very just classic suburbia, go to school, come back, blue collar working town, and people just kind of, I don't know, just stuck to their community and didn't need anything much outside of what they had. And I think that's a really refreshing thing to remember for me now, as I live in a place like Los Angeles, where it seems like everyone just wants more and more. So yeah, Sunday Morning by Maroon 5 is that's probably not the best answer I could give you, but it's the answer I'll give you for now. Like, if you ask me tomorrow, I might give you the better one, but yeah, I'll say that.
It's a good one, and I like the notion of Sundays and easy living, and it seems often in the way the world is, that's a forgotten trait about the way people live. Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest and everything, so I like the answer for sure. We'll be back with more of the Taking a Walk podcast in a bit. Now, if you're looking for a rock and roll oriented podcast, We invite you to check out The Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll. The history's fascinating. There's so much to uncover. The Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll explores moments in time, albums, songs, events, and people who had an impact on the history of rock and roll. They keep rock and roll fun. The Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Taking a Walk podcast.
Going back to Michigan, how deeply did it impact you when you went to your first Coney Island?
Oh my gosh. Now we're getting into the heavy hitting stuff.
Yes, Mr. Mustard.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, have you, Buzz, I'll ask you this first. Have you been to Coney Island?
Many times. I spent a lot of time. The company I worked for owned, and I was part of managing a bunch of radio stations up that way, WRIF and WCSX. And so I spent many a day in the mean streets of Birmingham, Michigan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, okay, so you get it though. Yeah, Coney Island, for listeners that I have no idea what we're talking about, is this amazing. I'll call it a diner, but it's just this great American old school restaurant in Detroit. The sort of like champion restaurant is Lafayette Coney Island, which is in Detroit, which is the first one, and they basically only sell chili dogs, hot dogs, hamburgers. I think that's about it. And if you mess your order up, you're just going to get what they give you. So it's a real old school kind of joint. And yeah, so Buzz, yes, that is, speaking of childhood, like you asked me what song reminds me of my childhood, what food is, it's Coney Island. That is basically all I remember doing. And especially in the summertime, like driving up on my bike with my friends with some cash in my pocket and getting a $2 hot dog and just sitting there and, feeling like a king. It was, it's still to this day like my favorite food, and always brings me back to just, I don't know, like we were saying, this early days of easy living. But it changed my life for sure. That's all. I think that's also where I found my love for mustard, which I'm sure we'll get into soon. But I left that restaurant many times with mustard stains all over my t-shirt, which my mom was not happy with.
Yeah. I mean, mandatory when you go to a Coney Island for that to happen. Yeah. I mean, if it didn't happen,
how else are you going to prove that you were there?
I know. Now, what was the town that you grew up in there in the suburbs?
The city's called Grosse Pointe, and sure. It's about. It's actually there's a film called Grosse Pointe Blank with John Cusack that came out, and I think it was the 90s. Maybe the late 80s, but I think it was the 90s, and it's all shot in Grosse Pointe, so people might recognize the name of that town. But yeah, it's a really interesting place to grow up because it's definitely, like I said, it's blue collar, but it's got everything. It's got like a very wealthy part of it. It's got a middle class and it's got a lower class, and then about 5 minutes away is Detroit, and you're in a completely different atmosphere. So I really grew up seeing both sides of the coin of like life in general, seeing really insane poverty to the wealthiest of the wealthy, it seemed like, and everywhere in between. So yeah, I kind of, even though Michigan is not necessarily the most diverse and cultured, I would say, like place in the world, I feel like I definitely got to see a lot of life in where I grew up, just based on being on the border of Detroit. It's pretty fascinating.
I love the movie, the Grosse Pointe movie you referenced, and I love Grosse Pointe. And as someone who grew up there, as you did in the Detroit area, I mean, people who are from there, they absolutely, they live and die by being from that area, being from Michigan. It's a special place, and I have many, fond memories from my time being spent there. Your sound over the years, it blends pop, it blends hip hop, reggae, electronic, many different influences. How did you sort of cook up this incredible, unique style?
Yeah, I don't think it was much of me cooking it up. Honestly, I think it was like we kind of were touching on earlier, it was the early days of just being fed music from my parents to I don't know, what was around me. And so, like I said, that Motown to then growing up and finding my own tastes like Jack Johnson and Bob Marley and Third Eye Blind and Kid Cudi, just a real mix of genres. Yeah, it was, I don't think I was doing it deliberately, like making it be like, okay, I'm gonna compile all these people I love, and then someday I'm gonna be this artist, and it's gonna be a blend of all of them. It was never that. It was just I truly am just I think I just am a very passionate fan of music, and I'm unbiased to do music. As long as it sounds good, I'll listen to it. So I think when it came time to make my own stuff, the songs I was writing was just the byproduct of that sort of approach to music, which was non-discriminatory and like just accepting of what sounded good. And so when I started writing my own stuff, naturally, I think what came out was this mix, and like you said, sort of like a melting pot of all these things that I grew up liking and all these tastes that I had acquired. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I don't really know how it happened. It's just life kind of took its form, and yeah, I once I started writing my own stuff, it was just I was like, yeah, I just all of that, all those resources sort of came out and spilled onto the page, I guess you could say.
Well, we're sponges and about
Yeah,
some things we love, and obviously we love music. So there's so many things that are inputted that make us feel good. Maybe don't make us feel good all the time, but maybe at moments that we're not feeling good, we need that. And they take us through mental challenges, physical, personal challenges. And that certainly has traced your work. Now, as here we are at this moment with the Look I'm Alive, and congratulations on it, and the excitement that you have and the gratitude that you have with relation to where your life is with your new child and how it makes you look at the world differently. Talk about that when it comes to either the song Olive Tree or certainly Yellow Brick Road and the rest of the album.
yeah. I think having a child in your life now, especially a daughter. I mean, it's something that just softens you as a man, and I think it's it would be naive of me to and I don't know, just it would feel weird if I didn't write music about her, because it is the biggest part of my life now. And a lot of my music up to this point was about past relationships that I've had, failed girlfriends and me getting dumped, and yeah, that's all good and grand, but like it kind of got to the point where, now I'm a father and a husband, and I had to kind of look at myself in the mirror at some point and be like, am I going to start talking about what's actually currently happening in my life, or am I going to always be looking sort of in the rearview mirror and touching on these memories that I'm pretty much over with? They don't bother me anymore. But I was always scared to talk about my personal family life because I wasn't sure if people would find it interesting. So to touch on this new record, yeah, it's just you'll hear it in the album Look I'm Alive. It's really just about gratitude and being thankful for where I'm at, and celebrating the mundane moments of life that I think we often look over and think are boring and aren't worth writing songs about. One of the taglines of the album, it's not even a lyric in the album, but we've kind of championed it as a slogan, I guess you could say, for the album, is that every moment's worth singing about. And I love that because I think that is the secret to life. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But in my opinion, I think if you can cherish every inch of this experience and not try and race to the next one, life becomes more enjoyable, and you're not seeking for the next thing. And that's really what I've tried to do with this album, is just celebrate the here and now, and every little thing that comes with it. So my daughter was a huge inspiration for that direction. And yeah, I don't know. It feels good to talk about stuff that's just normal, it's weird, but it's liberating in a way. I felt like I didn't have to come up with a crazy story or pull out the worst memory I've had from my girlfriend dumping me in high school, to make a good song. It feels good that I can still write good music about these mundane, normal, quote unquote, parts of life.
Well, it is a long trip from creating Straitjacket to creating Yellow Brick Road. You must admit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm flashing on, as you open the podcast too, the beauty of it, just that simplicity of taking a walk with your daughter and the wild-eyed enthusiasm that she has for the world, and that it reawakens your enthusiasm about the world is also, and the creative process is also so exciting.
Totally. I mean, seeing you nailed it. Seeing her and just seeing children in general, the way they look at life. It's like right now, I'm like I was saying to you, Buzz, I'm in New York and I'm staring out my hotel window and there's a shadow on this wall or this hotel across the street from me. And yeah, it looks cool, whatever, but a kid would look at this and be like, oh my God, like what is that? And why does it look that way? And why is the sun hitting it? And the way I look at my daughter walking down the street, that's how she looks at life. And it's inspiring, it's like, why can't we as adults look at the world that way too? And you're totally right. Looking at them look at life invigorates you and inspires you to live a certain way. So that's what I try to do with this album. And I'm sure I could do a better job of it, but it's a daily practice and, taking baby steps, I guess, to do my part in that.
I love that, baby steps. That's a perfect way to look at it, really, when you think about it. But if your daughter's listening to this right now, what's your daughter's name?
Her name's Florence.
Florence, cover your ears for a second, Florence. So, okay, thanks, Florence. So, Quinn, though, I must tell you, enjoy these moments because they're so special, because when the first eye roll comes out of Florence, then you're going to see life changing even further.
Oh, trust me. I'm already dreading that moment. Yeah, I've got some friends who have daughters that are a little older than her, and they're not even teenagers. They're only like 6 or 7, and they're saying, oh, like just hold on to these precious moments while she still wants you to pick her up and hug her, because they're fleeting, so, cherish them while they're here.
Does she like music at this point?
Honestly, she does. And I'm not just saying that because it's what I do for work and stuff. And, we play it. It's funny. Just like my parents played music around the house, my wife and we play it around the house all the time. Because my wife also grew up with her parents playing music around the house. So it's funny. We both sort of grew up in these households that just wanted background music, I guess, to fill in the silence, I suppose. But now we've sort of adopted that with our mornings and our days living out in LA with Florence. And like, she loves music. I mean, she's not singing or anything, but you can see she's bouncing around. We play jazz a lot and she loves jazz. So I'm hoping I'm like molding a little jazz artist right now, but we'll see what happens. But I think it'd be cool because I have no musical chops or like technical abilities, or I'm not classically trained in anything. So I think it'd be cool to see one of my kids sort of go down that route and be like a real proper musician and outshine their dad. But yeah, but she loves me. I think she likes music, but from all the signs I've got, she's definitely bouncing around. So there's something in there that is resonating with her.
Oh,
yeah.
I think it's primal. I'm sure she does. I that there's a beat that's going on in her head, or that she's kind of envisioning. Absolutely. So it's so wonderful. I want to talk collaborations in your career. You've worked with folks like Logic and Chelsea Cutler, and I'm sure I'm leaving someone out. Are there other collaborations that you kind of look into the future and think, man, that would be really cool?
Yeah, I mean, I have it's like a Christmas wish list of artists I'd like to work with someday. But it's funny, I'm getting more to a point of not getting so hung up on if those moments happen or not, and just, if anything, like we said, that word gratitude is coming up again. Being grateful for the people I have worked with. I feel like I've worked with a lot of different and amazing artists spanning a lot of different genres, and I'm pretty content with where I am as far as the list of people I've got to work with. But yeah, sure, there's a bunch I'm still hopefully able to collaborate with someday. But it's nice getting to a point in life where you're not so hung up on those things happening or not. And like I said, that's just where I'm at right now. Who knows, next year maybe I'll be hungry for a specific thing to happen, but I'm just riding the wave right now, I guess, so to speak, and just grateful that I've got the people I've worked with under my belt. And speaking of collaborators, there's a band that's on this album called Dispatch, which I've listened to for, I don't know, as long as I can remember. They were like the soundtrack to my early years, and they've been around since the late 90s, early 2000s. That was really surreal to get them on one of the songs for the album, which is called Live and Let Go. And yes, talk about just like a 360 moment of just hearing someone you've listened to your whole life and then hearing them on a song that you wrote is pretty surreal. So yeah, shout out to those guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with them, living outside of Boston and their whole legacy and everything, and amazing fan base for sure. In closing, what is the strangest food group that you've added mustard to?
This is the way to end a conversation. I'm serious, Buzz, when I tell you I put it on. I shouldn't say I deliberately put it on everything, but I've tried it with nearly everything you could think of. I've tried it on pasta before, which I'm sure people are just throwing up right now in their mouths, but that was surprisingly not that bad. I'll admit it's not great on everything, but I think I've loved it so much that I've just given it a rite of passage that it could taste good on anything. And I'm also making my own mustard. So just as a selfish plug right now,
please.
There's a mustard I'm making. Well, it's actually the second flavor we've made, but it's called Mustard Mike's because the nickname I had growing up was Mustard Mike. My real name's Mike, and you can find it at mustardmikes.com. But it's something I'm really not joking. Like, I love mustard so much to the point that we're now making it, and I think it's unbiasedly very good. We'll have to send you a bottle sometime. I don't know if you're a mustard guy or not, but it's something that is perfect for the summertime on a hot dog, hamburger, whatever. I like to cook with it. I put it in like tuna salads and marinate it in chicken, and it's great. So yeah, I'm all things mustard. That's my next big endeavor in life. Outside of music.
Quinn, I love mustard. I'm all things mustard as well.
Then make sure to get you a bottle.
I think it's fantastic. Congratulations on your family, Florence, your daughter, and your new music, Look, I'm Alive, and Quinn 92. It's such a honor to be talking to you, man. Congrats.
Thank you, man. Likewise. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Taking a Walk podcast. Share this and other episodes with your friends and follow us so you never miss an episode. Taking a Walk is available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.